Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Dawson Blank. I am the Executive Director at the Minnesota Youth Athletic Services. So great to see a lot of familiar names and some faces. If you have your camera on, see some new names. So welcome aboard if you're new in leadership with in your association. We're excited to work with you. We have a lot on our agenda tonight. So housekeeping item is we ask you to put stuff inside the chat if you have questions, or email myself or Jeremy Innes, who you'll hear a lot from tonight, or Jeff Schultz separately with any of your questions that you may have. We're always here to provide any answers and superior customer service for you. So if you have questions, please feel free to send it our way or put it in the chat. We may not get to your questions tonight because, again, we want to respect your time as well. And we have a lot to get to as we launch the 2023-2024 Minnesota Youth Basketball Alliance winter community-based season. So again, welcome everybody, and we'll get right into it. Just wanted to go through the agenda for tonight. This is the official launch of the new season. I know we're just getting through the spring basketball season, if some of you have participated in that. And we're getting into already the heat of summer on June 1. But I know for many of you, you've had your transition of board members with those that their terms have ended, have moved out, and you got people that have now have a new term. And you guys you're figuring out your association and where you're at with things and your registration and everything like that. So I know it's a busy time for all of you as you start to ramp up things as we head to September, October of this year and the start of the youth basketball season, but your work has already begun. We're going to go through introductions. So again, my name is Dawson. I've been at MYAS since 1999, and I took over as executive director in 2019. Jeremy Innes has been at MYAS since 2002. He is associate director in charge of operations at MYAS, and he has been very instrumental in the Minnesota Youth Basketball Alliance. And you'll hear from him a lot on the new and improved dashboard and platform that we're excited to launch and release to you. And then we got some things we're going to talk about: the membership, team composition, things like that. And we'll try to fly through this stuff while being very informative at the same time. So again, welcome to the launch of the 2023-24 season. Before I get into some things, just some FYI items. If you are new to leadership within your association and you're unsure what all these acronyms mean of MYAS or MYBA, obviously Minnesota Youth Athletic Services is the organization that facilitates, provides guidance, helps steer the ship for all of the youth basketball associations in the state. The Minnesota Youth Basketball Alliance was created in 2020 as a way to connect all the youth basketball associations around the state. And it has been a great success. Obviously, we found out really quickly in 2020 how well it worked when we had to work together and come together with streamlined processes related to COVID and getting our kids back to participation on the hardwood. We have had some great things happen over the last couple of years within this, and I think ultimately it is the ability to connect with everybody and have great communication that we can work together and potentially streamline more things and standardize some things. And just again, the whole intent is to make it a safe, positive, productive experience for the kids within youth basketball in Minnesota. We're very unique within the state of Minnesota compared to the rest of the country, where we have a true community-based season. We should all be very proud of what we have established. We can see it, those that are moving on to college ranks, and we even have some representation in the NBA ranks of those that participated within our youth programming that have now been able to continue to move up. And we see it in the springtime, where the May 13th, 14th weekend between our events that we run, along with some other event operators, there were 1,084 teams playing on Mother's Day weekend, for example, and that's just spring basketball. And to be able to, as an organization, successfully run tournaments and events for over 4,500 teams since February 11th is awesome to see, because we are the state of basketball as well. So I just wanted to let everybody know that there is this MYBA on demand. So if you go to MYAS.org and you click on the MYBA, there is a spot for it. So if you want to learn more about some things and why it's organized that way, our history of our organization, what our role is, things like that, this may help you. And that was the whole intent of it, just to help you those that maybe don't fully understand who we are and what the MYBA is. This is there for you. We did have an initial Board of Advisors meeting on May 17th. As you see on the screen, there is 30, I believe, if my NISWA math serves me right, I think 32 or 31 members of the Board of Advisors. This is the voice of the MYBA. Last year, there were 25 members of the MYBA Board of Advisors, and they're all made up of current leaders within organizations across the state, as you can see. Last year, there was a big decision made by the Board of Advisors where we changed the team composition guidelines to primarily where you attend school. And that was a 21-0 vote at the time. So they are, again, the voice of the MYBA. Obviously, there are different thoughts and opinions within youth basketball, but we can all come together and talk about some pain points, talk about survey results, and try to, again, look at ways we can enhance, amplify the experience within youth basketball. Some of the things that were discussed at the meeting on May 17th, just more clear rules for split households, clarification on kids who are open enrolled, and Jeremy will talk about that. Again, to maintain the grandfather clause within the player transfer and the residency exception that was implemented last year. And then more buy-in within the eligibility compliance conduct reporting, where we really, and we'll talk about this later, where we really want the tournament directors of your association that are running your own tournaments to really know that there is a mechanism to report something if there is unsportsmanlike conduct or bad behavior at your event. And in turn, there is a third party in connection with the Youth First Alliance that will be able to assist in that. So we don't have a situation where if something happens early on in Maple Grove in early November, that it can be addressed and then it does not happen again. Because again, that's the biggest thing right now, is the sportsmanship piece that we need to curb, and we all need to work together on it to create a better environment for our participants, which include the officials, players, coaches. We need to make sure that we create that great environment for them. Game results index was a big talking point on how to continue to enhance that, and we'll talk about how that's going to happen. Went through the seating for grade state. We talked about run time versus stop time at grade state. And there's been a determination that 3rd through 5th grade will remain running time, but we will add in 6th grade as the 14-minute stop time. Last year it was just 7th and 8th grade. So again, those are some things that are discussed at the Board of Advisors meetings, again, based on surveys that are passed out or feedback that we've received. And it's been a great start to have a variety of people that are from around the state of Minnesota to help us with this. All right, just before we get going and before Jeremy gets into the new and improved dashboard portal that will be important for you all to get moving on, we strongly encourage you as either a new leader or somebody that's been in leadership for the last few years within your association to please do your part and update your association contacts. And Jeremy will again go through how this can happen, but we strongly encourage you to make sure that those that are listed as people receiving communication correspondence throughout this year, and we like to get stuff out to all of you so you're in the know, so we're open and transparent on what's happening. Some people say I write too much, but I like to get information out to you. Please keep that stuff updated. It's important. And so if somebody needs to be removed, let us know, because we don't want to have somebody send us a note saying my term's over, please remove me from the list. Because then that's one more person within a community that won't be able to receive the information if we can't update it with somebody new. So again, make sure you update. All right, the membership renewal. So the renewal is a few years back, we had, prior to MYBA, the ability for associations to list their own tournaments. At the time, that was $75 a tournament. What we're doing within the Minnesota Youth Basketball Alliance, and we listed out some of the things that we as an organization are doing on behalf of the MYBA. We're excited to show you improved technology, support, and efficiency within this whole process, creating this one-stop shop. There's going to be additional time and resources that we're going to dedicate as an organization that's representing you all as the combined 165 plus associations that make up the MYBA. Ability to access and post easily the index, and that's an exclusive thing for MYBA members. You can add your staff, your board members, and easily add teams and rosters that Jeremy will go through in just a minute. So I'll let Jeff Schultz come on. He is a consultant with us, and he's worked heavily with us on the Rising Stars High School Winter Basketball League that we ran this last winter. And he's kind of helping us be the face of the MYBA. He's a former president of Blaine Basketball Association on the boys side. So I'll let you talk about the benefits of the MYBA, Jeff.
Sure, no problem. Thanks, Dawson. Appreciate you taking that time to walk through those first few slides. And thank you to everybody that is joining us tonight. I know that you're all volunteers, so taking some evening hours away from your family, we appreciate the opportunity to walk through this. Like Dawson said, I am a consultant, work with MYAS. I do have an office within their brick and mortar location in Spring Lake Park. I work with Jeremy and Dawson and some of the executives on project management, different programs to help lead certain pieces that they really need assistance just because of a time constraints. So one of the ones that I get excited about is working with the MYBA, because I was a past president, like Dawson said. I know a lot of the pain points, though they change probably every year. And so just working with some new benefits to the membership is exciting for me. And there's a few that we can't share with you right now that we're in works with, but I can tell you that I'm pretty excited about them, but they may not hit until the fall season. Or closer to the actual basketball season itself, but hopefully we'll get those going throughout the summer. But real quickly, just some of the things that we have put in place, and what I like the best about the MYBA since Dawson and the team at MYS launched it is really the continuity that brings everybody within the state together. MYS is a neutral body, but it's also an important body to help with various different services and activities that take place within each one of your organizations. So with that, Dawson walked through a few of those points, but eligibility enforcement, the tournament index, and so forth. And you can see those, but the 5 C's really kind of bring the continuity and everything together. And one of those pieces that is, I would say, fairly new, it was available last year, but as I indicated, and Dawson and Jeremy also realized, is we kind of smothered the conflict resolution a little bit within the 5 C's. So I just want to explain what the conflict resolution is for everybody at each one of your community associations. The conflict resolution is we're a third party. If you have a conflict with a parent, a board member, a coach, we understand that within your local communities, that could be very highly difficult for you to navigate. You see that individual at the grocery store, the gas station, maybe the kids are at the same school. We're there for you to take that conflict and send it to us, and we'll give you, based on our investigation, based on our approach, we'll provide you back a short report that you can utilize to speak with that individual or that situation that's happening, and present that as, the MYAS, MYBA, report back to the executives or whoever was submitting that. So what we've done, and I've worked with Akua Kennedy within the basketball department at MYAS, we've come up with a platform. We've come up with questions where anyone within your organization on the board will be able to go online at the MYBA web pages. It's not there yet, but it'll be coming probably in about a month or so. And go in, hit the button. It'll ask you some questions. It's kind of like a little survey, and you'll be able to submit what the conflict is taking place, and really what would you like to see as the resolution. Just what's your expectations, and then we'll call, investigate, do what we need to do on our end to provide you back really a third-party report that you can hopefully have a little softer approach with your individual person that's causing issues within the board, within a parent, maybe it's a coach, any of the above, and that's only available for the MYBA members. So I'm excited about it. Certainly I think every year you have something that arises, and we're hoping that you utilize that service this year. We're going to make it a lot more easy access than it was in the past. So all I can say is I'm working on the new some of the new membership programs, and I'm excited to where it's going. So, but you'll have to come back next month if you want to see more. So at this point, Dawson, did you want me to go into anything else?
Nope, I appreciate it. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Look forward to meeting everybody.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy Innes. Just so everybody knows, a general email, and it's at the end of this slide, but basketball@mys.org will get you in contact with all the main members of our basketball program, which are Ashley Ansel. She's the basketball managing director. Kevin Wilson, he's a longtime program director at MYS. And Akua Kennedy, who is our community engagement director. And then Rich Pennick is also a longtime associate director. And he is providing guidance and support within there too. So Jeremy, the floor is yours. You're on mute.
Well, you figured I would have had that figured out by now, but thanks, Dos. I'll get right after it here. So then, as Dawson mentioned, the MYBA membership opened today. We've already got 7 or 8 associations that have hopped in there and joined and provided some feedback. At this point, everything seems to be running very well, as it should. So that's great to see. This year, we've made 2 pretty big technology changes. And the first one is with the MYBA portal. We've moved away from the old MYBA portal, which was in Game Maker. That was the back end side where the association leaders put their teams and rosters and manage the tournament index. We're moving that all over to RegisterPlay. We're also moving or utilizing their bracket functionality that we'll touch on a little bit later, bracketing and online registration. But wanted to point out to everybody that the MYBA portal is moving. With both of these moves, the reason is that the RegisterPlay platform is just it's a more solid platform. It's better. It's a lot more user friendly, a lot more stable. And what we're trying to do is just eliminate the need for multiple platforms for the association leaders and just trying to keep things as streamlined and as easy as possible. Limiting the amount of platforms people got to remember login information for, and I got to go to this site for this and this other site for that, is what we're trying to eliminate. And as we move through the slides here, I'll be bringing up some of the benefits of moving to RegisterPlay.
I know a lot of you are saying, oh, great, another system, another platform to worry about, but you'll understand why we completely 100% believe in this and why all of our programs and all of our stuff is going underneath RegisterPlay as we go through this and as you get more familiar with the platform.
So this is our MYAS.org website, and this is our MYBA page. To access the MYBA portal, you get to this page and click on the button in the upper left or the middle one, and that'll bring you to the MYBA portal where you can add your board members, and that's under the staff tab, as Dawson mentioned earlier, tournament index, all that good stuff. Dawson, if you want to go to that next slide. So this is what it'll look like when you click on become a member, join the MYBA. I impersonated one of the board members for Coon Rapids, and this is what it looks like when they're accessing the renew your membership page. So this user was attached to the staff for the Coon Rapids Association. So when they logged in, their association was highlighted in the upper left, and they also saw the register for MYBA, the yellow button towards the top of the page. If you look over just to the right of Coon Rapids, you'll see the Andover Traveling Boys Basketball Association. They've already completed the membership renewal, so they've got the yellow box around their association and the MYBA logo in the upper right. Once your association completes the membership renewal, that yellow register for MYBA button will go away, so there's not multiple people completing the registration process. If you do get to the RegisterPlay site, we did put a screenshot in the lower right-hand corner, and to access all of this, you'd want to click on the basketball, then go to the Basketball Association button. Here's the dashboard. For this screenshot, I'm impersonating the MYS basketball test account that we've got set up. And as you can see across the top there's different tabs: teams, players, schedule, events, staff. Those are the main ones that you're going to be using. And just like in the old MYBA portal, the teams tab is where you're going to add your teams, invite the players and coaches to those teams. The events tab is where you can add your event, and you can at that point decide if you want to just make it an advertisement or if you actually want to accept online registrations and even start accepting credit card payments along with those registrations. That sort of thing with the online registration, and also how to build out a bracket for the tournaments through RegisterPlay. We're going to be covering and going in a lot more detail on that on Sunday's meeting. So especially if you're a tournament director, we'd highly recommend that you attend that meeting that's coming Sunday, because we'll do a complete demo on how to get tournaments set up, how to accept online registrations if you want to, and even get that scheduled. Kind of getting back to the benefits of moving to RegisterPlay. One of the big ones for us that we see is in the old MYBA portal, you could put your teams there, but you couldn't register those teams for other associations. You could register them from grade state or for grade state, which was nice. But what RegisterPlay is going to allow us to do is an association gets all their teams loaded into their dashboard, and they find out that one of the tournaments that they're participating in, they've actually got registration open through RegisterPlay. So those teams that are properly identified with the naming structure, they can be added into that other association's tournament. And as we'll touch on a little bit later in the slides, but that's really going to help us for the game results index. By keeping all these static team accounts, we can really start doing some fun stuff with the game data. So here's a bunch of help guides. And one of the things that we really love about the RegisterPlay platform is the help guide library that they've got. I pasted a handful of them here, how to register for the MYBA, create an MYAS account, create a team, and so on. The real nice 45 to a minute long videos that will walk you right through the process. Very user friendly.
Next slide.
There we go. All right, at this point, we want to get into the team composition guidelines, just as some reminders from what were put in place last year. So as Dawson mentioned, last year, the Board of Advisors recommended that we make the change to determining school attendance as the primary determining factor for which association a player is eligible to participate with. And it removes the residency component in most cases. I'll hit on a couple of the exceptions coming up. We do have the complete and updated team composition guidelines posted on our website. But as it says here on the slide, there are exceptions for players that attend private schools, online school, charter schools, that sort of thing. And if at any point the documentation references verification for the player, what we want to see is that the school that they attend have whatever address they have on file is what we're going with. So just to clarify on that. So if there is a situation where a player does qualify on one of the exceptions, say the residency exception, for example, where we get to look beyond where the school that the player attends, and we actually get to look at where they reside. To prove that residency, we want to see something from the school. It could be a screenshot of their online portal. It could be a document, an ID, if it happens to list the player's address or the student's address on that ID card. But we want that to have the player's name on it and to show the address, the residency address that that school has on file. Back in the day, we used to accept a utility bill, a rental, a mortgage statement, that sort of thing. But we've recommendation from the Board of Advisors is that if the school's got it on file, that we can trust that and feel really good that that's accurate. All right, so a couple of the exceptions or some of the unique situations. There are quite a few school districts that have multiple high schools within them. So for the most part, in those situations, we're going to revert back to the address that the player resides, because there's a lot of situations where a middle school, for example, will end up feeding kids into two different high schools. This happens when the schools the high schools are within the same school district. But in that situation where a player attends a middle school that feeds into two different high schools, we're going to look back at where the player resides, and that will be the association that player is eligible for. There are a couple of exceptions to that rule that are listed in the team composition guidelines, so refer to that. Reach out to us if you have any questions regarding split households and open enrollment. again, everything starts where the player is attending school. So that's the first place you want to look. So if they attend a school in this community, that should be the association that they're participating with. And we'll get to the residency and player transfer exceptions here, I believe, on the next slide. So these are a couple of our exceptions that players can request, and if they are looking to play with a different association, there's some opportunities available to them. The first one here is the player transfer, and that's what a lot of people refer to as the waiver. But this allows a player to participate with a neighboring association. The associations need to share a border, hence the term neighboring. And with the player transfer form, it's if there's a player that requests to leave their home association, the home association, it's totally up to them whether they want to approve or deny that request. Some associations have a hard policy where they don't approve any player transfer requests. Some take them case by case. So we see it all over the board. But neither the home association has to approve the request, nor does the association that the player wants to transfer to need to accept that player. There's a form where both the home association can complete it and identify if they approve it. And then once that step is completed, that form can go to a board member from the association where the player wants to transfer to. And at that point, they can make that decision whether they want to accept that player or not. Dawson, if you want to go to the next slide, talks about the grandfather clause a little bit. So last year when we put the new player team composition guidelines in place, we created recommendation from the Board of Advisors was to create a grandfather clause to help the associations ease through the transition. And basically it allowed an association or a team to have up to 2 transfer players on the same team. Previously, teams were only allowed 1 player transfer per team. But in situations where maybe a player previous to the new team composition guidelines were eligible for an association based on where they reside, the Board of Advisors suggested that we allow an additional player transfer to allow that player to continue their youth basketball career with that association that they started with. So that opportunity is available to them. And then in our recent Board of Advisors meeting, they did recommend that we kind of restart that phase out schedule. This year is supposed to move to 5th grade through 8th grade, but their recommendation was to keep it at 4th grade for just 1 more year to help ease that transition for people. And you can see the complete phase out schedule below. The residency exception is the other exception that is available to people. And the big difference between the residency exception and the player transfer is that the player transfers I had mentioned is for neighboring associations. If you have a player that wants to leave their home association and go to a neighboring association. The residency exception is if a player, again, obviously wants to leave their home association, but wants to go and participate with an association that does not border the association where they attend school. We give an example here, a player who lives in Stillwater but attends a public school in Anoka. And we see this most often with maybe a parent that teaches in a different school district than where they live. And a lot of times they'll transfer their son or daughter to that school that they're teaching at. So that's one example of why or when we see this situation applied. But so that player that lives in Stillwater, goes to school in Anoka, they want to participate with Stillwater. So they fill out the residency exception form, and also they need to include documentation from Anoka, where the player goes to school, that has the Stillwater residency address on file. And that's all listed kind of step by step right on that form. So again, we're reverting back to the address that the school has on file to prove the residency. So in this example, they've got to complete the residency exception form and provide the documentation from the school that has the player's address listed on it. In this situation, the player does not have to be released from their home association. It's just complete the form and prove that they do reside in that community, and they can fire that over to the MYAS and we'll review it and most likely get that approved. The residency exception is limited to one residency exception player per team. All right, moving on to tournament administration best practices. If there's any tournament directors on the call, this is the important stuff for you. The first thing listed is to get your tournament listed on the tournament index, and that's through the MYBA portal. The MYBA tournament index page is by far one of the most visited pages of our website. There's a lot of eyeballs on that page, so if you are running a tournament, definitely get that posted sooner than later. If you don't have access to the MYBA portal, reach out to some of the other board members to check, see if they've got access to the portal, and then they can invite you and provide access to you. Second bullet point, when you're accepting teams into your tournament, please make sure that they meet the MYBA team composition guidelines. Last thing we want to do, and based on the feedback that we hear from the board of advisors, if we're putting all this time and energy into these team composition guidelines, the last thing we want to do is give these teams that don't follow the rules, for lack of a better term, an opportunity to play, because it just goes against what everybody's working for with the community component for the winter season.
Hey, Jeremy, just one note on that. If there are some associations that may sit close to the border. So for example, Forest Lake, I know, has historically had some teams or associations that originate from Western Wisconsin, and they are not a member of the MYBA because they're not within our state. But the whole point of it is just to verify that they are all community-based teams, because that's all what we're trying to provide during the winter time is the community-based and the guidelines that are set for the MYBA.
Yeah, and just to add that too, we're not saying that all of the teams participating in your tournament need to be from an MYBA member association. It's great that they are, and if they're not, maybe encourage them to become a member of the MYBA. That way, all of the MYBA members are agreeing to, follow the team composition guidelines, the best practices of doing background checks on their coaches and open tryout process and that sort of thing. So if they're from an MYBA member association, they're good to go. If they're not, and as long as you're comfortable that they meet the team composition guidelines, then we say, yeah, go ahead and allow them to participate. If you're unsure, reach out to us and we'll let you know what we know about that particular team. Use the MYBA playing rules. This is great for consistency, especially for, the example I always give is for fourth grade teams. From one tournament, pressing and free throw distance and ball size, those younger grades, they see a lot of different rules throughout the season. We saw a great number of tournaments utilize the MYBA playing rules last year, and that was fantastic to see. makes it a lot easier for the coaches, players, officials, to keep that consistency and know what rules are going to be playing with from one tournament to another. The last thing on here is to take advantage of the RegisterPlay event registration and scheduling. We are very confident that this is going to work out really well for your tournament. And as I've mentioned before, it keeps everything in one platform. We're able to do some really cool stuff with that data by doing it. We did move away from Tourney Machine. We're no longer supporting the account that we had set up for the last couple years. Nothing against Tourney Machine. They've definitely got some nice features in there. They just weren't able to build out what we were hoping to see with the games in that platform going into a system-wide rankings. And there was a disconnect from Tourney Machine and the MYBA portal. So just eliminating the different platforms and trying to streamline everything was a big reason why we've moved RegisterPlay. And I know there was a lot of associations that moved over to Tourney Machine over the last couple of years. And just like we did when those associations moved over to Tourney Machine, when you move over to RegisterPlay, we ensure you that we will make sure everything goes smoothly. We will be there with support. The RegisterPlay staff is great to work with and very good support. Please trust us. We will ensure that it's a very good experience for the tournament director and the teams participating. This is just going to be a brief introduction on, I guess I kind of hit a lot of this stuff here. But one of the really nice things, as I mentioned before, is all of the games that are played through RegisterPlay are going to automatically flow into the game results index. So we've finally got to this point. This has been something that we've been wanting to get to for a handful of years. We hear a lot of feedback from coaches and association leaders saying, hey, we've got this platform. A lot of tournaments are using it. Why do we still have to have the coaches go in and manually enter their scores? So with RegisterPlay, we have that opportunity. And that opportunity works if tournaments are being run through RegisterPlay. Again, we'll take a deeper dive on Sunday, but all those tools in there with advertising your tournament, accepting registrations, putting in the brackets, scoring it out right through RegisterPlay, and then getting all that data flowing into the game results index is going to be great for everybody. And we're really excited to get that going. Also on the call tonight, we've got Dan Pfeffer with Minnesota Softball. He's been a fantastic friend of MYAS. He's also very plugged in to the RegisterPlay platform. And what he's seen in Minnesota Softball is really cool with the adoption that they've got. And, they run their league through it, and the vast majority of the tournament directors are also using RegisterPlay. And it just streamlines everything, simplifies everything, and does some really cool things with the data. Dan, is there anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. So hi, everyone. My name is Dan Pfeffer. I am the state commissioner for USA Softball and Minnesota Softball. And Minnesota Softball and MYAS are proudly partnered through offering community-based athletics. Recently, we also partnered in technology with RegisterPlay. So Minnesota Softball has been using RegisterPlay since the summer of 2020. And annually, we have around 2,200 teams playing fast pitch in ages 8U through 18U. Our state tournaments aren't as big as yours, but we have roughly around 1,500 teams competing in our summer and fall state tournaments. So what happened is we got to the point where we were spending 12 hours a day working at the office on registrations, fee collections, schedules, rosters, tournaments, you name it. We knew there had to be a better way And our customers started demanding more. They wanted a system that would collect all the game scores so that tournaments, qualifiers, states, nationals were all seated properly or more appropriately. So we had a bunch of data silos. We retired a website that looked really sexy, was good at collecting money, charging fees, and holding our registration fees in their account for a week. We created a roster website so teams could see rosters and we could create tournaments and enter scores. We did this because our former website provider couldn't offer a separate, or I couldn't offer a tournament management system that was tightly integrated with registration. And then there were just way too many issues with that system to mention here. All we really accomplished through all these years was we were working a lot harder and not smarter. So everything changed for us when we converted to RegisterPlay. The cool thing about this system is we all do a little bit of work. It's kind of like crowdsourcing. So tournament directors create tournaments. Coaches create teams, invite players, and enter tournaments. And parents create their players or their children and accept team invitations on behalf of their children. So what's important to you as an association leader or a tournament director is this is an enterprise-wide solution. It handles every single last detail you need to run your events. As a tournament director, you should care about, and what I typically care about, is getting teams to register for your tournament, getting teams to pay their entry fees, seeding teams based on their records because they will be in the system. Scheduling pools, you'll want to schedule brackets after pools. You'll be able to see the rosters of the teams in your tournaments. You can easily enter scores using the app, using a laptop, an iPad. You can use the site, the MYAS site on RegisterPlay is mobile friendly. So if you don't have the app, you can still use it. All you have to do is click on the game number and enter a score. It's that simple. And then the really cool, the best feature is advancing teams from pools to brackets and quickly. Once you have all the scores entered for your tournament, you click 2 buttons and parents, coaches, everyone understands where they're playing on Sunday. After you do your brackets, you can send out an email to all the coaches and parents and say, brackets are posted. And guess what? I don't have to stay up all night answering emails and phone calls about where they find the brackets. They're going to get them that quickly. People don't huddle around your concession stand waiting to see where they're seated. It'll be that fast. And then afterwards, you'd have final standings and you can upload championship photography of the teams. All the data is in one spot. The data that you enter automatically applies to the game results index. So this system /website /app will give you, your teams and your customers, a one-stop resource for basketball. So I got to give you a good quote from Wyzetta. Their softball director, Tim Lyons, said this about RegisterPlay. How much do you charge for this service? Because I'm as happy as a pig in slop to get help with this setup, and I'll donate any amount of money to your cause. I was like, well, yeah, I got a kid at Nebraska. Maybe you could help out with that a little bit. I'm kidding. He didn't pay. And then finally, you as an association director or association or a director will have the support from RegisterPlay and myself. We're online all day, all night, definitely on weekends to assist you with your tournaments. Undoubtedly, there are going to be some things that go wrong, some scores that get entered incorrectly, but we can triage your problems real fast. And it's just another regular day for us to be able to help people out with this. So you'll have the support of the MYAS staff, and you'll have the support of some of the Minnesota softball folks, because we don't have a lot of softball in the winter. And you definitely have the support of the RegisterPlay staff. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Pfeff.
Thanks, Dan. And just to kind of piggyback on that too, there's we get approached multiple times throughout the year from different platforms, and hey, can you we've got this new greatest thing, why don't you bring your registration and events over here? And we've checked out a ton of them, but RegisterPlay was just the platform was fantastic, and Dan and the rest of the sport too was even better. And we even joked to them, we know they've got, you know, clients and partners in other parts of the country, but it just feels like we're the only ones that they're working with and helping out, which is fantastic. So yeah, so please, especially tournament directors and any of the other board members, we'd encourage you to hop on that meeting this Sunday and get that full demo. I believe we touched on everything on this slide already. So moving into the game results index, we launched it last year, and I believe it was sometime in December, maybe even early January. So it was a really late launch, but we were super excited to see the participation. There's over 18,000 games that were scored in the platform. So for late introduction, first year, that was fantastic to see. And just to reiterate, every tournament that uses RegisterPlay will automatically have that data flow into the game results index. And through our postseason questionnaire, and one of the things that we received when we discussed this was, you know, this is a great value add for a tournament. And this particular person said, if when they use RegisterPlay for their tournament, they're going to promote the heck out of the fact that all those scores are going to flow into the game results index. And, you know, they're not going to have to rely on the coaches to do it, and just take something else off of the coach's plate, which they were excited about. Another nice thing is that invitational tournament directors, you can, the teams that are signed up for your tournament, you don't even have to go to the game results index. Right in your dashboard, when you're looking at the teams in each division, you'll be able to see their win-loss record and strength of schedule and all that good stuff. So you can set up some pretty accurately seeded brackets for your tournament. And at the end of the day, competitive games is what, you know, everybody's looking for. Yeah, and we are gonna, we're not sure at this point how big of an impact the GRI is gonna have on our seeding process for grade state, but it's definitely gonna play a role. Last year was just a reference that coaches could use when seeding the teams in their subdivision. We've discussed possibly using the game results index to initially set up our subdivisions and you know, let the coaches vote on it or submit their seeds beyond that initial ranking process. So the one thing that we are really confident about with the game results index and what RegisterPlay is going to be able to provide is, with the GRI, there's two main components. Number one, that we get a very large percentage of the game data. And number two, that game data is accurate. And with you know, RegisterPlay feeding the results index, we're confident that we can get the volume and the accuracy.
Yeah, just to note, Jeremy, on that related to seeding competitive matchups, because we're all looking for that to create competitive matchups. Last year during the seeding process for our grade state championships, where we have 1,540 teams, we worked with Dan Pfeffer on RegisterPlay to help us break down the data following those 3 weekends. And as you know, a lot of you know that the seeding process includes the coaches putting in information and then them voting on who fits based on win-loss record, strength of schedule, everything like that. And through that process this last year, we found through the 2,682 games played that 81.62% of the games were decided by 15 points or less and were competitive. So based on the current process of the seeding for grade state, it's working. But we know that the more data that can be captured and that can be very transparent and in front of everybody, we believe that we can raise that number by even more. And I think it's exciting because if you can get more associations to be able to utilize RegisterPlay and to get all that data flowing into the game results index and it's there, you have the ability to see what the records are of all the teams and where they should maybe jockey to or be in. We're excited about what the future holds with even more competitive matchups.
One thing I want to touch base on before we get to this next slide here, in the chat, there were some questions about the app. In the app right now and through RegisterPlay, if you're looking for any MYAS basketball schedules in there, you won't see that until this winter season. We are at this point using our old platform to complete our spring basketball season and through our fall program. So if you're participating in any of those and looking for the schedules, you won't find them through that RegisterPlay app. Those will all be posted on the myas.org website. Just wanted to clarify that for people. All right, on the next slide. This is something that we're really excited about, and from the feedback that we've received, leaders from a lot of associations are also excited about it. And that's our third grade travel basketball league concept that we introduced a couple months ago. We did open registration today. As our tagline at the top of the page, the big reason why it was created is to give families a quality experience as they begin their travel basketball journey. At this point, we're seeing more and more associations every year offer third grade. It's still not very widespread. And therefore, what's happening as a third grade team, a lot of times they're, just kind of searching for the right tournaments to sign up for. And this tournament might offer third grade, but they register, brackets come out, they're combined with some fourth grade teams. Sometimes those aren't competitive, but a lot of times they're not. And, that gets back to providing that quality experience for those families as they begin travel basketball. And, as they're starting that journey and to get their butts kicked by a bunch of kids a grade older, that can make it tough to want to come back next year, go to next weekend's tournament. So this league is a nice kind of easier way in, introduction to travel basketball. It's got a 10 to 11 game schedule, depending on how you do in that final playoff play date. And the way it's set up with the flexible scheduling is that we've got 6 play dates that we're offering, 2 in December, 2 in January, 2 in February. Teams can choose which 5 they want to participate in. So if their local association tournament is being played on one of the weekends that are offered for the league, they can choose to sit out that weekend and participate in their home tournament. So we've got some flexible scheduling that will help. And the last thing we want to do is make things more difficult or hinder those third grade tournaments that are out there right now. So, one of our board of advisors recommended that if an association is running a third grade tournament and they're doing it on one day, their recommendation was to encourage those tournament directors to schedule that tournament on Sunday. If it happens to fall on a weekend that is one of the third grade league dates. So we are very confident that both the league and tournaments can coexist and thrive and be healthy, especially if we do some things like that if associations are able to put those one-day tournaments on Sunday for third grade, that would be very helpful. Limited travel. We are going to set up different pockets around the metro area, even further out if we get the participation. But limiting travel is definitely an objective, and we are offering A, B, and C divisions, and getting those teams to competitive games is the #1 priority. Going to save people time, save people money, And there are fundraising opportunities available for associations that want to host the games. There's a per team fee that say you've got 4 courts that you've got access to, and we send 32 teams to your site for the day. You know, that would be most likely like a 9 a.m. to a 4 p.m. schedule. And then we would send you a per team rebate type thing, a host fee. And we've got that set as $100 per team. So it's a nice fundraising opportunity. The host site could also run a concession stand, retain those profits. And the parents are really going to like the fact that they don't have to pay an admission at the door, and hopefully bring the rest of the siblings with, and buy more hot dogs and Gatorade and that sort of thing. So we do have the 3rd grade travel basketball league page on our website all built out. As I said, registration is open. We did a meeting maybe 6 or 7 weeks ago, and we had 90 people on that call from 40 to 50 different associations. So that was great to see. Interest levels high. Even though registration opened today, it's going to be open for quite a while. So there's no rush to register. If your association is planning on participating, or at least probable at this point, it would be helpful if you would let me know. Because there's something new. I know a lot of people are kind of, wondering who else is going to sign up. Are there going to be teams in our area, so we don't have to travel across the metro area? And I'm going to be tracking down those commitments and compiling them, so I do have those answers when people inquire.
Just one thing to note on that related to Jeremy stating that both the league and the tournaments can coexist. When we did look at the dates that would be part of league play, we did look back to last year's tournament offerings and try to limit the amount of conflicts that existed for 3rd grade specific tournaments. Because the last thing we want to do is compete with the association on their tournament. Okay, I'll move into the next thing really quick. This is just a note again. Hopefully you can read it. I tried to get a shot of some fans at a basketball tournament, but we really want tournament directors, especially when you are in the process of sending out information and you want to make sure to emphasize some sportsmanship. We will make sure to send you out language. We'll send you out information that you can share with everybody, so it's consistent from one tournament to the next. If you've participated in our grade state or any of our big events, you've seen the youth first environment messaging, and that's part of it. But the other part is, like I said at the beginning of the meeting, is we need to make sure that if something does happen, if there is unsportsmanlike conduct or bad behavior that takes place at your local association tournament, we need you to report it. And there's a reporting form that's available that you can submit, and then that will be put onto a 3rd-party review committee. Then will take it and they will get all sides of the story of the incident, and then they will come back with their recommendation on what should happen. The reason for that is, 1, to nip things in the bud right away if there are situations that take place, so it doesn't happen again within a environment. And 2, it eliminates the need for the association leaders to have to make a decision, because we know that you may know them. You may go, like Jeremy talked about, go to the same, Jeff talked about, go to the same grocery store, go to the same church, whatever it may be. And this is a neutral body that helps make some decisions. This also has to do with eligibility. So if there is a question on eligibility of an individual on a team, there can be a submission for that as well. But this is more of the service part of us as an organization to help facilitate the process of the Minnesota Youth Basketball Alliance. So it's twofold: promoting sportsmanship and being a good sport at tournaments. And then if something does happen related to eligibility or conduct, we want that reported through the reporting mechanism. And we will make sure that that is on top of everybody's list, because we're going to try to get as many impressions as possible so people see that. Another thing to take advantage of. I know for a long time when I started at MYS, I was heavily involved within the youth baseball program. And for a long time, we only had to deal with the local assigners. And then the local assigners had their pool of umpires in this case, and they were able to successfully assign the games that we had. Well, that's shifted and changed over the last 5 to 7 years, as all of you know. And it's not up to just the umbrella organization or the local assigner. It's up to all of us to do our part in recruiting, educating, and retaining officials. We also know that there are officials out there that we want to make sure that they're held accountable as well. So Tony Schrepfer, our Director of Officiating Services, and Carolyn Dirksen, who's also within that department, they're working hard to help create training opportunities, help create online and in-person opportunities. They're going to be sending out information that promotes becoming an official that you can then pass along within your membership as an association. We don't want to take away individuals within your community that are going to do your in-house games or going to maybe do some of your local travel games. We just want people to get into officiating. And we have individuals that are very successful officials in their own right that can help train those individuals if you want them to within your community, or simply you recruiting some individuals to get them to an online opportunity or any kind of in-person opportunity. Or if you have somebody locally that is a veteran official that can do the training, that's great. We want to just make sure everybody understands that this is something that we all need as a collective youth basketball community to take on this together. And again, like I said, there are other things related to an assigner and the game officials that we need to make sure that there is a professionalism to that, and there's some accountability related to it. I'm a 21-year veteran high school basketball official as well, and I take pride in what I do, and we ultimately want everybody doing a youth game to do the same. And I think a lot of that sometimes has to do with the number of games that somebody officiates in a day, because we simply don't have enough officials within our pool of officials to only have them officiate 4 or 5 games. 15 years ago at MYS, we did have a policy that somebody couldn't work more than 5 games. Well, that ship has sailed because there's not a high volume of officials, and we need to build that pool back up. And COVID put a big hit on that, where individuals that were close to retiring, they just said, sayonara, I'm out of here. I don't want to be a part of it anymore. And now we left a bigger void. I'm 46 years old and I'm still considered young within officiating, and that's not good. So we need to try to do our part together. So look for more information from Tony and Carolyn coming soon on opportunities and just some promotional materials that you can forward on. And I'm just going to go through this really quick. We have limited the amount of offerings that we are doing inside the winter season. One, to not compete with the local associations. And two, because there is so much reciprocity within the invitational tournament ecosystem, we want to make sure that we create some great events that can be for everybody on dates that there may not be anything going on, or there may be limited things going on. And so we have some specific opportunities in the wintertime that'll be part of our what's called our old Super Savers 1-day option. And then there's some other things that we'll be sending out, but just some things to note. 78% of the organizations as of last year adopted trusted coaches over the last 7-8 years, which is awesome. It allows, the admin to easily track and manage completion dates and certificates. And it also allows the coach to quickly complete what is necessary for a state law, federal law, and then your insurance requirement for background checks. This also works for all the organizations in your community. So if they coach in the football program, they coach in the basketball program, they coach in the baseball program, that allows them to be claimed by those other organizations if they originate from the basketball program and you pay for them. They will then scratch your back when some people come in as new coaches in football, but they're also a basketball coach. So it helps the community associations as well. If you have an interest, if you're not currently utilizing trusted coaches and you have an interest, you can reach out to Adam and he can help you get more information on that. But that's our educational division of our organization. Coaches clinic that we're running on October 14th. Last year we had 135 coaches attend. It was awesome. We had Reggie Perkins and some awesome high school coaches share their wealth of knowledge. There was some on-court stuff too related to drills and everything like that. It's a great way to kick off the season, to equip your coaches. There's some continuing education that allows your coaches to get stuff throughout the season that'll be connected to that. And we have a flat association fee. No matter how many coaches you want to send, it's a flat fee. So look for more information on that. We have a Jamboree kickoff event that's going to be held at St. Michael, Albertville. And then of course our grade state championships and the other things that we offer. If your local in-house program or you partner with local communities and you're struggling to have somebody administer that league, we are here to help you. A couple years ago, we teamed up with a lot of the large communities on the north side, and we run a 160 team league called the Northern Twin Cities Basketball League. And it's been a great partnership with those organizations where it's their league, but we're just doing what we do is we schedule it and we provide the administrative service for the league itself. With that being said, we are at 8:13 and I believe that we were saying 8:15, right, Jeremy, tonight?
Yep.
So we are on target. So that's awesome. I will not really open it up because we have a lot of people on, but I would encourage you, if you have questions and you're completely confused and overwhelmed because of the amount of information that was passed along here tonight, please email myself or Jeremy or basketball@mys.org. Reach out to us. We are always available. We take pride in selling the service part of it, of getting back to people in a timely manner and making sure that people get their questions answered. So feel free to do that. But again, I strongly encourage your tournament directors, especially, and any leaders that are interested to register for the Sunday evening RegisterPlay demo so you can understand that a little bit more. And I put that in the chat as well. And we recorded this, so we will be sending it out. We'll send out something either tomorrow or Monday at the latest, where we can share the presentation along with the recording of this meeting tonight. So we thank everybody tonight for taking time out of your schedule as a volunteer and being here to listen and understanding a little bit more on what the MYAS is, what the Minnesota Youth Basketball Alliance is all about. And we're excited to work with all of you as we move into the 2023-2024 season. So that being said, have a wonderful rest of your evening, stay cool, and we'll see you soon.